I was faithful, so why this pain? Have you ever asked that question? Have you ever held on to your faith with all your strength, clung to the promises of God, prayed every day, and yet still found yourself facing the storm of your life? Have you ever felt betrayed by the very faith you've trusted in? Her name was Rachel. She had always been the one who trusted, the one who believed, even when it was hard. She was the one who lifted her hands in worship, who prayed for others when her own heart was breaking. She was faithful. She gave her all. She trusted in God's promises. She believed with everything she had that He would protect her, that He would answer her prayers, that He would heal her. But then the illness came. The doctors didn't have answers. The pain she had been fighting through for months only grew stronger, deeper. And then it wasn't just her body, it was her marriage. Her husband, once her partner, now distant. Her friends stopped calling. Her work was piling up. Her life, which she had built on faith, began to crumble. Rachel had prayed for healing. She had prayed for her marriage to be restored. She had prayed for peace. She had prayed with unwavering belief that God would show up. After all, she had been faithful. She had loved. She had served. She had given. So why, God, why this pain? Why, after all my faithfulness, does it feel like you are so far away? Why does it seem like my prayers are falling on deaf ears? She had been faithful, but in her pain she began to wonder if faithfulness even mattered, if loving God, trusting Him, doing everything right, was any of it enough? She closed her eyes and the questions flooded her mind. Why me? Why does this happen to those who serve you? Why does this happen to those who love you? And in the quiet of her thoughts, she felt a raw, aching loneliness, a feeling of abandonment. She had been faithful, so why was this pain her reality? Have you been there? Have you felt the weight of this question in your own heart? I was faithful, so why this pain? You see, Rachel wasn't the only one to ask this. So many of us do. In the moments when we're faced with loss, with grief, with sickness, with betrayal, we look at God and ask, why? We try to hold on to the promise of Romans 8:28, that God works all things together for good for those who love Him. But sometimes it feels like the world is falling apart. Sometimes it feels like the promise is slipping through our fingers. And that's where Rachel found herself, in the painful silence, in the gap between what she believed and what she was experiencing. But here's the thing about faith. Faith doesn't guarantee that life will be easy. It doesn't promise a life without struggle. Faith doesn't mean that we'll never face heartache, disappointment, or pain. But faith is the anchor. It's the thing that holds us steady when everything else feels like it's slipping away. Rachel had been faithful, but her faith didn't mean she wouldn't experience the storms of life, and it didn't mean that God was absent in her pain. You see, when we walk through the valley of shadows, when we endure the hardest seasons of our lives, that's when God's presence is closest. He's not distant, even though He may seem silent. Faith is the understanding that even when we can't see Him, He's still working. Even when the pain feels too much to bear, He is there, walking with us, carrying us. Rachel sat in her quiet room, surrounded by the silence of her unanswered prayers. But then something shifted inside her. She realized the faith she had was not based on how things went according to her plans. It wasn't about God doing what she wanted when she wanted it. It was about trusting that even in the pain, even in the waiting, God was with her, that He had never left her, that her faithfulness wasn't in vain, because God's faithfulness was unshakable. And that's the truth we all need to remember when we ask, I was faithful, so why this pain? Because God's presence is not dependent on our circumstances. It doesn't rely on our answers or our timing. It's in the struggle that He is closest. It's in the pain that He is shaping us. drawing us nearer to Him. And so Rachel's faith didn't waver in her pain. It grew stronger. She began to realize that God's plan was bigger than the pain she was feeling in that moment. His love was greater than her circumstances, and His faithfulness would carry her through. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. Sometimes pain is part of the journey, but that doesn't mean God has forgotten you. That doesn't mean your faithfulness was for nothing. Your pain has a purpose, and God is with you every step of the way. So hold on, keep walking, even when the pain feels overwhelming. Trust that God is faithful. He will never leave you, and one day you'll see how He used this struggle to strengthen your faith.